Hi everybody, Nomadic Matt here, and I am with Chris Guillebeau of The Art of Non-Conformity, and we're here to talk about his new book, The Happiness of Pursuit, right?
That's good. Yeah, that's what I wrote on the title on the
Yeah,
cover.
yeah,
But
okay,
you can call it anything you want. It's cool.
The Happiness of Pursuit.
Yeah, the
Um,
the hun- the $100 happiness was the working title, but we threw that out. So
okay, wow, well, I like The Happiness of Pursuit.
cool.
I just read it. Chris sent me a copy while I was in Europe, and I read it on my many long trains across the continent. So Chris was kind enough to come on the blog and talk about his book. So I've known Chris for a number of years. Uh, I knew him when I started blogging. I read his blog. I was an avid fan. I liked his whole quest for, see every country as a traveler. I have that goal too. There's nowhere on earth that I don't want to see. So I, known him for a couple of years, and it's been good to be able to call him a friend and really get to know him. So, Chris, welcome to the blog and this
Dude,
interview.
thanks. Well, it's a huge honor to be on Nomadic Matt, of course.
Uh,
I mean, it's just great. Like you said, we've known each other for a long time. I've seen you in Austin, in Portland, in where Amsterdam. I don't know, a bunch of other places. I'm sure New York. So it's a huge honor, and you're doing great work too.
well, thank you, thank you. So, you have this new book. It's your third print book, right? The Happiness of Pursuit. What inspired you to write it? Because your last book was about the $100 startup and how to sort of bootstrap an online business.
Yeah, so like you, I've always been a traveler and had this goal of visiting every country in the world. And as I made progress, on that journey, I wanted to share a little bit about my journey and the quest. But fortunately, it wasn't just about me. I also met lots of awesome people all along the way who were also pursuing quests, also pursuing big adventures. And so I kind of wanted to tap into that and say, okay, why are these people doing this? How are they changed along the way? What did they sacrifice in order to pursue this dream that they had? And then what can we learn from them? So it's a little bit of a memoir. What's up? It's a little bit of a memoir, but
That's my roommate, everybody,
it's
Stephen.
cool. He's the makeup guy. That's cool.
Yeah.
A little bit of my story, but then a lot of other people's stories, and hopefully it's not just a bunch of stories. Like there's a clear message to it that says like a quest can improve your life too, and here's how you do it.
Yeah, I really liked a lot of the stories in the book, and you really do include a lot of stories about why people go and how does this like crazy thought become like a life goal.
Mm,
And one thing that was always fascinating was the continuity in people's process. They had this crazy idea.
mm,
Everybody told them they were crazy, but they just couldn't get it out of their head.
right.
And they thought, well, maybe I'll look into it. And then
Mm,
looking into it turns into obsession and
right.
planning, and then they just go. And they find that the hardest part was going. And
Mm,
I resonated a lot with that because here on the website, I get a lot of emails and
mm,
comments, stories from people like, oh, everyone tells me I'm crazy.
mm,
Um, you know, I don't know if I can do it. And then when they go do it, when I went and did it, I found that that first step was the hardest part.
mm. Absolutely.
So why do you think, without
Mm,
spoiling the book, because we don't want to give everything all away,
sure.
what inspires a lot of these quests? Like what did you learn from all of this?
Yeah, no, I think you kind of set it up well because you didn't use the word discontent, but you were talking about that a little bit in saying that a lot of people had this crazy idea in their head, and maybe they were a little bit dissatisfied with the life that they had, or even if they had a great life, maybe they longed for something more, and then they had this dream, they had this crazy idea, it wouldn't leave them alone. It wasn't just that other people said it was crazy; like they also thought it was kind of like this
Yeah,
audacious thing. But I think the second lesson is, first of all, like you pay attention to the discontent, and then secondly, if you have, this crazy idea, if you have this inkling to do something, if you have this drive, you can't ignore that. It's not going to go away. So pay attention to it, and then maybe importantly, figure out how not just to pay attention to it, but how to connect that discontent with some sort of inspiration. That's why I think sites like Nomadic Matt are great because it's like, here I am, I want to travel, I want to see the world, but how do I do it, right? And so the sooner that you can connect, this feeling or this drive with some kind of action, with some kind of practical plan. Okay, I've always wanted to travel, but how can I do that? Like, how do I create a wrapper for that or a package or some parameters or like, what is the first trip or what is my quest? I mean, the sooner you can do that, the better. And it often evolves along the
yeah,
way. But as you said, first step is just to do something.
yeah. And And so relating to your quest, now your quest was to see.
This is my roommate. This is my roommate, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey.
hey, what's the name? What's his name?
Libby or Liberia.
Liberia. Nice.
My assistant. Go on.
It's a good assistant. She probably does a lot of work. Fetches you coffee.
She's in charge of comments on the blog, actually. If somebody ever leaves a rude comment, and they're like, why wasn't my comment posted? I say, just talk to my assistant. She'll put it up.
Excellent. So you did this quest to visit every country in the world. And did you see a lot of similarities between, the stages that you went through with everybody else?
Absolutely. And it's important to say I looked at all kinds of different quests, so like you and me, like we have a bias toward travel and discovery and exploration. And so the first stories I started looking at were people who had walked across America, who had also traveled to a bunch of countries, or maybe bicycled around the world, or stuff like that. But then, I wanted to look at different kinds of quests also. There's a lot of activists in the book. There's a young woman in Tasmania, Australia, who wanted to protest illegal logging. And so she actually climbed a tree in Tasmania and lived at the top of this tree for more than a year, just to prevent the loggers from coming onto the island, and all kinds of different stuff, right? And they had a lot in common. They were all kind of motivated by this journey, by this crazy idea. They all went through stages, as you alluded to. There's like this big goal, but then there's lots of milestones or stepping points along the way. It always involves challenge. It always involves sacrifice or trade-off of some kind, and that's not meant to be heavy. It's not meant to be depressing. It just says, like, if you really believe in something and you're really going to pursue it, with all your heart, you're probably going to have to say no to other things, as well. And then the last thing is, sooner or later, somewhere along the path, something else probably happened. Once you start going down the road of adventure, you don't always know where you're going to end up. So there's a transformational element as well.
Oh, definitely. My year-long trip, around the world started in 2006, and 8 years ago, and I'm still going.
Yeah, look at that, right? 8 years.
8 years.
Amazing.
Do you think it's easier now to start quests? Because you and I started our quests. I started to decide to do this 10 years ago. It took you about 10 years to do yours.
Sure.
But there was no online community. There was no World Domination Summit that you have every year in Portland. Great conference, everyone. Go to it. I go every year. Plug for that.
Thanks.
But now, with blogs, forums, conferences like this, the idea that, you're this crazy outlier isn't so crazy anymore, because you can meet all these like-minded people who are going to encourage you to pursue this crazy idea.
Yeah. I think what's changed is the element of community and the element of global community, which is truly fantastic. I think in some ways quests, have been around like millenniums, like they've been around like forever. Odysseus, you got a little phone call there?
Cool. Yeah.
Hey, we got pizza coming over. It's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
This is really a virtual hangout.
It's cool. It's all good. Odysseus, is like setting out to save civilization, and then all the modern stories of Star Wars and Star Trek, in video games, Super Mario Brothers, like you're going to go rescue the princess, like all, quests have been around a long time, but we haven't had this ability, to connect, virtually, physically, all over the world with all kinds of interesting people, as you said. So that's wonderful. That's great. It's been a change for the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So reading all these quests, you read, how many did you go through?
We featured 50 stories in the book. There were probably hundreds of stories that we went through.
Do you have a favorite? Or is there one story that that really inspired you to make a change or do something?
I don't know if I have a single favorite. That's a great question. I like a lot of different stories. I like the guy who walked across America. You probably know him, Nate. Cool guy. But I also like maybe stories of like ordinary people, just doing stuff. The woman in Oklahoma who made a meal from every country because she wasn't able to travel to every country. She had a young daughter, but she kind of found this way to like bring the world to her home. I like that. There's a guy in Australia who wanted to produce the world's largest symphony, and it hadn't been produced in 30 years. It required more than 800 musicians and lots of specialist instrumentation and choirs and stuff, and he failed over and over, for years and years, and finally brought that to success. I like that story.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about these quests, right? The woman who couldn't travel to every country, so she made a meal. I think a lot of times people think these quests have to be really large, life changing. Like the girl who sailed across the world by herself,
Right.
walk across America, visit
Sure.
every country. They can be small quests too.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. I think everybody could choose their own quest. I think what's important is the value of adventure. Figuring out how to bring that value of adventure into your life, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever the constraints are, on your life. Like we all have different situations, but I think we can all embrace the value of adventure.
So, to the people reading this, well, reading the blog post and watching the video, what advice would you have for them if they're thinking about starting their quest, whatever that quest may be?
Yeah,
What would you
I
tell
would
them?
say, first of all, you're not alone. So, you may have this crazy idea, but there's probably somebody else who also has, other crazy ideas, maybe even the same kind of stuff. So it's great that you've found this community, first of all. Second of all, pay attention to those ideas. Don't let them pass you by. Find a way to embrace adventure in your life, even if you feel like the vision is relatively small. It's okay. Another thing I learned is that most missions or visions kind of increase as you gain confidence. So I don't know, Matt, when you started traveling, what, 8 years ago, or how many years, 6 years, or
Yeah.
something, like, did you imagine that you'd be doing this now? Like going to all these different places, like the global community that you have. Like I would imagine that somewhere along the way, like your mind was blown, and you're like, this is bigger than I thought it was going to be, right?
Oh, exactly. Quests start out small. I mean, Odysseus just wanted to go home, and then
Right.
10 years later, right?
Exactly. So I would say don't wait. Find a way to get started wherever you are.
Yeah, that's great. So that's wonderful, and thanks for joining us.
Cool.
Tell people where everyone can find you.
Awesome. Well, I hope you just leave me a slice of pizza over there.
Yeah.
And people can find me on my website, chrisguillebeau.com, or on Twitter at Chris Guillebeau, or at an airline lounge all over the world. I'm doing 40 cities for my book tour. I would love to see folks on the road. It's a fun community event. We don't really talk about the book that much. We just have a good time.
Let's end on the book tour. So, first date is
First date is New York City, September 9th. Coming up real soon, and then September 10th, and then September 11th and 12th, every day after that.
great. I'll be at the one on September 9th, everyone.
Excellent.
So, virtual fist bump.
Cool.
So, I hope to see you all there. And you can find out more about the book right below this video in the blog post. I'll do a little review of it, and you can get some copies. And Chris's website is linked there in case you can't spell his last name.
No doubt. Exactly.
So,
I should have been nomadic Chris, but that's another story.
yeah. So thanks for talking to us about your book. It was a great book. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It was very inspirational. There's some people there I wrote down to like maybe feature on my website. Especially
Excellent.
that woman that sailed across the entire globe. She was 14 or so. That
Yeah,
just blew
16, yeah.
16. That blew my mind.
Yep.
So again, Chris, thanks for being here. And everybody, thanks for watching. And you can check out The Happiness of Pursuit on Chris's website, and you can get it everywhere.
Hopefully.
Everywhere. Can we get it outside the U.S.?
You should, yeah. It should be available in the Commonwealth now, essentially. And then foreign translations will be coming in the next few months.
Great. And of course, BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com ships globally. All right, Chris, thanks for coming here.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, bye.